Hello, basketball people, we have news. Let's go to more news about the Golden State Warriors. I ask you to give a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, as I am a Warriors fan. The Portland Trail Blazers are showing interest in Jonathan Kuminga, and a trade involving Jeremy Grant is being suggested. The Portland Trail Blazers are emerging as a potential suitor for Jonathan Kuminga, which if true opens up a painfully obvious new trade target for the Golden State Warriors. Jeremy Grant has been a name seldom mentioned as a possible Warrior trade target, but that could change if Portland's interest in Kuminga materializes further once the young forward officially becomes eligible to be moved on January 15. Warriors have painfully obvious trade target in Jeremy Grant. According to Kevin O'Connor of Yahoo Sports on Monday, the Trail Blazers, New Orleans Pelicans and Washington Wizards, along with a recently mentioned team in the Dallas Mavericks, all have some level of interest in Kuminga leading up to the mid-season trade deadline. O'Connor identified Grant and Drew Holiday as veteran players Golden State could target in a trade with the Trail Blazers, but the size of the former clearly makes him a more viable option rather than acquiring another guard. Grant has averaged an even 20.0 points, 4.0 rebounds, and 2.7 assists in 26 games this season, shooting 43.6% from the floor and an efficient 38.9% from three-point range on a career-high 6.4 attempts per game. After actually starting the season in a bench role, Grant returned to the starting lineup and has been productive before missing the past 9 games due to Achilles tendonitis. That injury concern, combined with his overall stature as a player, means that the 31-year-old shouldn't be Golden State's primary target by any means. The Warriors should absolutely be targeting a more difference-making player such as Trey Murphy II or Michael Porter Jr. The consideration of trading Draymond Green in a deal for Anthony Davis should also be strongly thought through before any eye turns towards Grant. However, if Golden State decide that those players aren't realistic, or that they don't want to give up significant draft assets, then that's when Grant becomes an obvious option before the deadline. At the very least it's a big, 6 feet 7 inches forward who could play considerable minutes and be a potential third scorer. If the cost of that is merely Jonathan Kuminga and Buddy Hield, with no draft capital involved, then it's an obvious rotation upgrade to consider. The more exciting news from this report is that Kuminga's market actually remains reasonably healthy, at least for someone making $22.5 million who has now been out of the rotation for 11 of the past 12 games. That should give the Warriors no shortage of options before the deadline, including a potential deal with the Trail Blazers that sends Grant to the Bay. The Warriors' Jonathan Kuminga situation has gone from baffling to infuriating. At least the end is near? Believe it or not, but there will be a time when Golden State Warriors fans no longer have to think or read about Jonathan Kuminga's future with the organization. Fans can only hope that time will come soon, as he will become trade eligible on January 15, but he hasn't exactly done anything to boost his trade value. Kuminga last played in a game for the Warriors on December 18. Before that, it had been nearly 2 weeks since he played. He went from being a starter at the beginning of the season to falling out of the rotation entirely. Who could have ever seen that coming? His restricted free agency over the summer was enough of a mess, but Golden State eventually won, signing him to a 2-year, $48.5 million deal with a $24.3 million team option for next season. It set the Warriors up to trade him before the February 5 deadline, but his trade value has dipped in recent weeks. The Warriors are still stuck in a Jonathan Kuminga saga. Last Friday, it seemed like Kuminga would actually play against the Thunder with Steph Curry, Jimmy Butler, Draymond Green, and DeAnthony Melton out. However, the forward ended up missing the game himself with back soreness. A win against OKC was unlikely from the start, but it would have been interesting, and maybe even beneficial for Golden State, if Kuminga had played. There is zero incentive for the Warriors to keep him past the deadline, as he is their top trade chip, and they need to find a way to turn him into a valuable rotation player. That player could be Michael Porter Jr., who is having a career season in Brooklyn, but unlike Kuminga, MPJ's value is rising with each passing game. His price tag may be too high. Sam Amick of The Athletic recently confirmed that the Kings are still interested in Kuminga, as they were among the top 2 teams in the running for him over the summer. Golden State wasn't swayed by the package that Sacramento offered, though, which could be a hold-up again in trade talks. Amick also reported that the Mavericks are interested in Kuminga, subscription required, who would go to Dallas in an Anthony Davis trade, but that'd mean the Warriors would have to give up Draymond Green. Steve Kerr said he wants Draymond to finish his career with the organization, but as you know, that doesn't guarantee it will happen. There should be more chatter about Kuminga in the coming days and weeks. Golden State will have about 3 weeks to trade him once he becomes eligible. How the front office handles a trade could make or break the Warriors, but at least it's a position they're very familiar with when it comes to the 23-year-old. It will be enough of a relief when the Kuminga chapter is officially closed, but let's hope that it will also involve a happy ending. Warriors linked to huge trade for $179 million sharpshooting forward. The 19-17 Golden State Warriors have been far more mid than they may have been internally expecting thus far this season. But that's kind of what happens when your best centers are Quinton Post, Tracy Jackson-Davis, and the ghost of Al Horford. 6'6" Draymond Green, who was an intimidating small ball option at the 5 spot during his Defensive Player of the Year heyday almost a decade ago, is just too small to restrain the rising giants in the Western Conference. With all-star level centers like Nikola Jokic, Victor Wembanyama, Alperen Sengun, and Chet Holmgren manning the middle, and spreading the floor outside the paint, too, it would almost be unfair to expect Green to keep up with them, especially now that the 35-year-old has been slipping a bit athletically. But the younger Warriors centers just don't have the strength or size to hold their own. More news: Warriors dealt bad injury news ahead of Thunder Clash head coach Steve Kerr, for one, seems to be embracing Golden State's decline from a dynastic run that saw the team win 4 titles from 2015 to 22. We are no longer the 17 Warriors, dominating the league. We are a fading dynasty, Kerr said, per Monty Poole of NBC Sports Bay Area. We know that. Everybody knows that. Last year, thanks to the mid-season trade arrival of 6-time All-Star swingman Jimmy Butler, Golden State finished with a solid 48-34 record and won a playoff series. This season, the team has fallen back down to earth, due in large part to this frontcourt issue. Still, the Warriors seem to be turning things around a bit. Golden State has won 6 of its last 8 contests. It's clear that the Warriors have a bit of a size problem. Obviously, this writer believes the issue needs to be solved through an investment in a traditional, rim-running center. But it sounds like Golden State team president Mike Dunleavy Jr. might have other ideas. Golden State considering a pricey non-center option? Sources have informed Jake Fisher of the Stein Line that the Warriors have held some internal discussions regarding a trade for Brooklyn Nets forward Michael Porter Jr. The 6'10" Missouri alum can certainly score at all 3 levels, but he's not going to solve their defensive issues at center, especially since he's nominally a 3. Through 26 contests this season, Porter has been averaging 25.8 points on .496/.410/.812 shooting splits, 7.5 rebounds and 3.3 assists a night. He looks great, Kerr raved about Porter to Fisher. Obviously he's the focal point now here, whereas in Denver he played off Nikola Jokic and he was fantastic. Now he's taking on newer responsibility and more shot creation, and he's a tough guy to guard at that size. With the way he moves and can put the ball on the floor and rise up and shoot over the top, he's tough to handle. More news: Warriors coach Steve Kerr gets candid about latest Draymond Green fight. How exactly the Warriors can obtain Porter, who makes his owed $79.1 million this year and next as he wraps up the 5-year, $179.3 million deal he initially inked while with the Nuggets, remains an open question, per Fisher. Golden State power forward Jonathan Kuminga, who has fallen to the back end of Kerr's rotation, is the key trade chip the Warriors are hoping to offload by this year's deadline. The 23-year-old will be trade eligible on January 15. It is nonetheless difficult to pinpoint a clear pathway for the Warriors to get into the Porter mix, Fisher writes. That's because Brooklyn, sources say, has not shown much interest in acquiring Jonathan Kuminga dating to last summer. Fisher wonders if the cleanest fit to send Porter to the Warriors is a three-team trade. Those kinds of moves are a bit tougher to pull off, but with the right motivated parties, they can be in play. This is a talented Golden State team, and with Curry and Butler still performing at all-star levels, Dunleavy owes them a move or two. Adding a big scoring wing in his absolute prime, at the level of Porter, would certainly help. But it wouldn't fix the Warriors' center problem. Funnily enough, the Nets actually do have a rim-running center in his prime who would fit in nicely at Chase Center in starter Nicholas Claxton. The 26-year-old is currently earning a fairly reasonable $25.5 million, a number that's fairly in line with Kuminga's $22.5 million salary this season. The Warriors could throw in a veteran's minimum contract to match money. Claxton would give Golden State exactly what it needs at the 5 spot. An athletic center with legitimate size who can hold his own in the post and rack up lobs from any of the Warriors' 3 high-level playmakers. He would cost less, from both a contract and an asset perspective, than Porter, and adding him would more directly treat Golden State's biggest weakness this year. Steve Kerr's harsh take on Warriors might bother fans, but he's right. Some Golden State Warriors fans might be bothered by longtime head coach Steve Kerr's latest comments. Kerr shared a polarizing take this week during his appearance on The Tom Tolbert Show about where he feels the Warriors are as an organization. In Kerr's eyes, anyone who believes Golden State is a true title contender is being unrealistic. The key there is, where are we right now, organizationally? We know we're not where we were 5, 6 years ago. But we did win a championship 3 years ago, Kerr said. That felt like a post-glory years title. We weren't quite ourselves, but we were good enough to give ourselves a swing at the plate. Everything fell our direction. We went and got a ring. That was pretty cool. I just don't want anybody to think that we're all delusional and thinking we should be competing for titles year in and year out with San Antonio and Oklahoma City the next few years. That's not realistic. Kerr's comments may rub Warriors fans the wrong way. However, Kerr speaks the truth that the Warriors are no longer the world beaters they once were when Kevin Durant and Klay Thompson were still torching the Nets at Oracle Arena. However, Steph Curry remains a top 10 player in the NBA even at 37 years old. Through 25 games this season, Curry has averaged 28.7 points, 4.0 rebounds, 4.3 assists and a league-best 4.8 made threes per contest. Fans understandably believe that with Curry still playing at an All-NBA level, the Warriors always have a chance to compete for a title. Jimmy Butler reveals private chat with Jonathan Kuminga amid trade rumors. Jonathan Kuminga's Warriors career hasn't been great. But in the past year, he has received true support from teammate Jimmy Butler. Be it after a low performance of just 5 points against the Pacers or the ever-existent exit rumors. JK might not be in the Golden State after January 15, the first day he's eligible to be traded. Despite this, Butler is not changing his stance about their relationship. Same, Kuminga, better come to my house tonight, eat dinner, play some dominoes, he said after the Jazz game. That's my brother, so I care less if he had the rotation. We hang out, that's my friend, that's my brother, and that's not gonna change. Basketball is basketball, but I love him like a brother, and I wish him the best. And I still see him in here getting his work in, so his mind's right. That, trade exit, ain't got nothing to do with me, 'cause I'm still gonna call and check in on him, still gonna go visit him, still go to his house, eat his food, play with his kids, so his future, that's between him and whoever else, but the bond and the brotherhood that we've built, ain't no future gonna ever change if that's my guy. Kuminga was available to face the Jazz, but again, coach Steve Kerr decided not to play the 23-year-old. In December, he played just 4 games, and his last appearance was on December 18 against the Phoenix Suns, registering 2 points and 4 boards in 10 minutes of the 99-98 loss. Even against the OKC Thunder when starters Stephen Curry, Jimmy Butler, and Draymond Green were not available, the expectation for Jonathan Kuminga to start heightened. Kerr even said the 23-year-old will for sure be on the floor. However, hours later, Jonathan Kuminga was added to the injury report with lower back soreness. Soon after, he was ruled out. This was another surprising decision, which continues to circle around JK's season. Even when the negotiations stalled with the Warriors, Kuminga got support from Butler. ING love him, Butler told ESPN back in November. During this interview, Butler recalled his conversation with JK as his relationship with the franchise was too shaky and uncertain. "You got to do what's best for you. I understand the situation you're in. I don't think anybody on the squad got bad blood. I rock with you. I see a lot of myself in you." Is Jonathan Kuminga only a trade piece for the Warriors? Steve Kerr being dismissive about JK is not new. The Congolese forward was often called not fit for the lineup that had Curry and Butler. Even recently, the head coach offered an update, which summed up his feelings for Kuminga. "He needs some rhythm. He always has to stay ready. There's a pathway there, but right now, it's not there. But things can change quickly in the NBA." The 2-year $48.5 million deal is unique. It doesn't contain the player option, which JK wanted the entire summer, yet he can still control his future. ESPN's Shams Charania stated that the second year of the deal has a team option that is designed for the contract to be ripped up and allows Kuminga to jump into free agency. He becomes trade eligible on January 15, and many are already predicting that the final game in a Warriors jersey is done for Jonathan Kuminga. Naturally, the front office would want him to remain fit, as any injury could hinder potential trade talks. Even though Kerr and the other Warriors executives may remain non-committal to him, JK has support from Jimmy Butler. "We need Draymond." Warriors stand by Green after latest early exit. Draymond Green was ejected with 2:25 remaining in the third quarter against the Utah Jazz. For the third time in the last 8 games, Draymond Green failed to finish a ballgame he started. There were the 2 ejections, the first on December 20 against the Phoenix Suns, the second on Saturday against the Utah Jazz. There was also the spat with coach Steve Kerr that resulted in Green excusing himself to the locker room and never returning. Without Green down the stretch, the Warriors still managed to win all 3 contests. They don't exactly believe they've stumbled upon a new winning strategy. "That ain't the formula," said Jimmy Butler, who had 15 points and 7 assists. No. We need 23 foot out there. We need Draymond," Kerr said following Saturday night's 123-114 win over the Utah Jazz. "I want him out there. I think he's up to about 9 techs. We're not halfway through the season yet. A long way to go, and we need him." Green's latest ejection on Saturday occurred in the final minutes of the first half. With 2:25 remaining in the second quarter, Green was teed up by referee Simone Jelks following a dunk by Lauri Markkanen. Green did not speak following the game, but he appeared to believe that Kyle Filipowski committed a 3-second violation. Following the first tech, Green continued passing his case to Kevin Cutler. It's not uncommon for Green to receive some grace even as he continues his pleas. On this night, Cutler hit Green with another technical. Before halftime, Green's night was over. "I didn't hear what he said, but it was a quick one," Kerr said. "I know he got the tee right away, and then Kevin tossed him almost immediately. I don't know what he said, but I assume it was something that Kevin just wasn't going to listen to." The Warriors trailed by 12 points after Markkanen hit 2 technical free throws, but without Green, they outscored the Jazz by 19 points for the remaining 2 quarters and change. Steph Curry left his imprint on the night, dropping 20 of his 31 total points in the third quarter to propel Golden State to its 6th game in its last 8 tries. "We won the game," Curry said. "That's all we care about, that's all he cares about. I know he'd rather be out there." I don't know what he said to the ref, but the consensus in the locker room was it wasn't enough to get thrown out. "When you're a man down, you really got to pick up everything," Butler said. "It's generally hard to cover up what he does on both sides of the floor. The IQ on both sides of the floor, obviously, the defense, getting everybody the ball. Dre started off hot today, you know what I'm saying? It's so hard to do what he does, but it's a collective effort when he's not out there." Green finished with fine counting stats against Utah during his limited time on the floor: 8 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, but ended the night with a team low plus or minus of -15. Nights in the negative have been common for Green as of late. Over his last 11 games, Green has a plus-minus of -65, finishing with a positive figure on only 2 occasions. When asked about Green's recent on-off numbers, Kerr said the team has been a little jumbled this year and attributed small sample sizes. "I can tell you this, you look at Draymond's career and he's on the plus side in a massive way over and over again," said Kerr of Green. "The last 8-10 games, we've started the same way. We've had a better feel, better rotation. I think overall we're playing better, and I think he's playing better as well.